In today's video, we're going to be talking about 6 money traps that are easy to fall for in your 20s and 30s, exactly at the time when you may be starting to make more money and should really be trying to build your long-term wealth. Let's get straight into this, but before we do, like and subscribe because it helps me out. Number 1, buying a car out of your price range. Now, I know the generic advice all over YouTube is not to buy a fancy car to impress people, but in reality, status symbols matter. There's a reason most of us like to get up in the morning, brush our teeth and dress up well. And with status symbols like cars, statistically, owning a flashy car does perceptually make you more attractive to the opposite sex and makes people in general believe you are socially superior. And numerous studies have proved this. And this also holds true statistically for both men and women. Scientists have actually discovered it acts as a status symbol across genders. So look, my advice is a little different to the generic, coming from someone that has actually followed that generic advice in the past. So obviously, please make sure you buy a car you can afford, but make sure it is a car that makes you feel successful, whilst not making you appear like a complete knob to the outside world. Please don't buy a pink Porsche. As a general rule, your car should not be worth more than about 20% of your yearly take-home pay. Or if you're buying a car on finance, the payment shouldn't be more than about 10% of your monthly take-home pay. Number 2, buying a home out of your price range. The great thing about home ownership is, in general, you are buying an asset that goes up in value over time, and because of this, we often think it's a justification to stretch our finances to the max. There are a few things to seriously consider on this topic, bearing in mind I've spent my career building a UK-wide home buying company, a nationwide estate agency, and my own personal property portfolio. So not to big myself up too much, but I do know a thing or two on this topic. So number 1, generally the more expensive property in a given area is, the smaller the market that can afford to buy them, and therefore the harder it can be to subsequently sell on that property if you ever need to. More expensive properties are generally harder to sell, so you are going to be in a tighter lock if you find you need to lower your costs by selling. Number 2, as millions of us have experienced around the world, if you're using a lot of debt to buy your home and then interest rates go up dramatically, you can find yourself in the same home but with far, far higher running costs. You want to have high confidence you can afford your home long term. And number 3, if you're spending all your money on your home, how are you investing in your other investments? The main mistake I see friends, family and employees make is to stretch themselves to the max financially to buy their home at the complete expense of investing in other assets that can actually increase their passive income over time. Number 3, spending too much going out to eat. If you've not heard of the 50-30-20 rule, then listen closely. The idea behind this rule is you should aim to spend 50% of your income on basic needs, so things like essential living, expenses such as rent, mortgage, bills, food, transport to work. 30% on wants, so discretionary spending on things like eating out, shopping, holidays and subscriptions. And then the remaining 20% you should be investing on using to pay off debts beyond your normal mortgage payments, for instance. If you're spending too much on going out or eating out at the expense of saving and investing at least 20% of your income, then you're not getting the balance right. One thing COVID taught us is just how much everyone could save when we couldn't go out to spend money. Household savings across the US and UK, as well as most of the world, dramatically increased to record numbers, despite most people making less over COVID. Number 4, having an expensive significant other. It turns out people are 10 times more likely to break up if they think their partner is bad with their finances. Despite this, I understand how tempting it is to blow your budget on dates and presents for someone you love. But if you're not sure how to manage your dates with a significant other, it might be worth following the 2-2-2 rule. The guidance basically says committed couples should go on a date once every 2 weeks, spend a weekend away every 2 months, and take a week-long vacation every 2 years. Comment below what you think the perfect balance to this is. I'm not sure that is quite right. Number 5, paying too much for credit card bills. The average credit card interest rate is 18 to 19%, and given we are pretty accustomed by now to how rubbish high interest rates are, why on earth would you choose to pay that level of interest on debt? But the mad thing is, millions of us fall for the trap of credit card debt. On average, Americans, for instance, carry almost $6,000 of credit card debt. At all costs, if you have any high interest debt, pay it off. Number 6, not investing. Only 26% of us invested in the markets last year, and I appreciate investing in stocks and equities isn't the only way to invest your money, but in reality, we should all be looking to invest at least 20% of our income into different asset classes. Here's a breakdown of the different types of asset classes you can consider, because it's important for you to know what your investment options actually are. And ideally, your goal should be to build a diversified mix of investments dependent on your own personal goals and the stage of life you're at. If you're not sure where to start, check out my other videos up here for more.